Welcome to Sleepy Science. Before you fall asleep, there is something you should know about water. It has been here longer than anything you recognize, longer than mountains, longer than oceans, longer than life that breathes. Some of the water near you tonight was never part of Earth at all. It arrived frozen from space, before this planet was finished forming. Water does not belong to one place. It passes through everything: bodies, stone, air, time. The water inside you has been inside strangers, creatures that no longer exist, worlds that no longer look the same. Water moves while you sleep. It travels underground. It rises without sound. It waits above you in the dark. Tonight you are here for the hidden facts, the strange truths water never explains, the slow behavior that never stops. If you want more stories like this, subscribe to Sleepy Science and stay where the water goes next. Water never truly begins where we first notice it, because by the time it reaches our eyes or hands, it has already traveled through places we cannot see. Long before it becomes rain or fills a river, water is already moving along paths shaped by time and gravity. These paths were formed long before humans learned to watch the sky or measure the land beneath their feet. Much of the water on Earth did not start here at all, and that idea alone changes how familiar it should feel. Scientists believe large amounts of Earth's water arrived billions of years ago, carried inside ice and minerals from space. While the planet was still hot and unstable, water was already finding places to hide and survive. Once it settled, water began learning the shape of the planet slowly and without urgency. It flowed into low areas, pressed into cracks, and rested in places where heat and pressure allowed it to remain. From that moment on, water began doing what it still does today, which is move without stopping. When rain falls now, it does not fall randomly or without memory. Each drop follows roots carved by countless drops before it, even if those roots are no longer visible on the surface. That is why rivers return to familiar curves, even after drying up for years. Some rivers disappear completely, yet water continues moving beneath the ground where no light reaches. Deep underground, water slides through layers of rock at speeds so slow they are difficult to imagine. In some places, water moves only a few feet in an entire year. This hidden movement never announces itself, yet it never pauses. Water presses through stone, fills empty space, and reshapes the land without sound or warning. Over long periods of time, even solid rock gives way to this quiet pressure. There are places where underground water has been moving for thousands of years without ever touching the surface. Some of it began its journey before modern cities were built, before maps existed, before borders were drawn. It continues traveling, unaware that the world above it keeps changing. When water finally rises again, it often appears suddenly and without explanation. A spring forms where there was only dry ground before, and water flows as if it has always been there. In reality, it has been arriving slowly for centuries. Even the water in clouds has a long story behind it. Before rising into the air, it once rested in oceans, lakes, soil, or living bodies. It evaporated quietly, leaving no trace behind, yet continuing its journey upward. As it drifts above the land, water does not rush. It waits, carried by winds and temperature, moving in wide arcs across the sky. Sometimes it travels farther in the air than it ever did on the ground. By the time water falls again, it has already changed many times. Liquid became vapor, vapor became liquid, and sometimes liquid became ice before returning. Each change added another chapter to its path. Even now, water around you is still traveling. Some of it is moving through pipes, through soil, through the air in the room. Some of it is inside your body, continuing a journey that began long before this moment. Water does not arrive suddenly into the present. It flows into it slowly, carrying everything it has been through. And now it is here. Beneath the ground, water moves in ways most people will never notice. It slips through tiny cracks in rock and soil, following paths invisible to the eye. Here, time slows. The water that slides beneath mountains and valleys has been here far longer than cities, far longer than any human memory. Some of it was trapped before humans existed. It pressed between stones while the first trees were just beginning to grow. It waited as creatures wandered above, unaware of its patient presence below. It has seen glaciers form and melt, deserts expand, and oceans shift across the globe. Deep underground, water does not hurry. It does not need to rush because there is no clock here. It moves only as fast as the spaces in the rock allow. Some water travels only a few meters over 100 years, yet it continues without pause. This water is often cold and dark, untouched by sunlight or wind. It knows nothing of the sky, nothing of seasons. It is shaped only by pressure, by the weight of the earth, and by the narrow tunnels it squeezes through. It fills caverns slowly, accumulates in pockets, and presses gently against stone walls. Some underground water is older than any written history. It formed while the first humans were still evolving in distant lands. It was present when ice sheets covered continents and volcanoes reshaped the surface. It remembers, in a way, the paths it has taken, because even stone can bend and give way to its passage over time. Water underground is patient. It waits while earthquakes rearrange the surface above. It continues moving when mountains rise slowly over centuries. It slides around obstacles, fills voids, and adapts without hesitation. In certain places, underground water collects in enormous reservoirs called aquifers. Some of these are so deep and ancient that the water inside may have started its journey tens of thousands of years ago. When humans tap into these sources, the water that emerges has already lived through so much history. It has seen civilizations appear and vanish, deserts expand and recede, and forests grow and die. Water beneath the surface is not stagnant. It slowly dissolves minerals, carving hidden channels and changing the shape of the earth quietly. Rocks that seem solid give way over centuries, hollowing caverns and forming underground streams that flow unseen. It moves in patterns that no one can easily trace. Even the smallest underground streams are part of a larger system. Drops that meet here may have started in distant mountains, traveled through layers of rock, and passed beneath deserts and plains before joining the current underground river. Every drop carries the memory of this long journey, though it is invisible to anyone above. Temperature and pressure control much of the movement underground. Some water exists just above freezing, slow and thick, while other pockets are warmer, moving slightly faster. In all cases, the pace is measured, steady, and relentless, even though it is imperceptible to humans. In some ancient aquifers, water has remained undisturbed for millions of years. It was here when dinosaurs roamed the land, when oceans were in different places, and when continents were forming their shapes. The water holds traces of that time in its minerals, in tiny bubbles of air, in what it carries from the surrounding rock. Water underground sometimes rises. It finds the smallest openings in the soil. It presses upward, pushed by gravity, pressure, and unseen forces. Springs emerge where the earth allows, sometimes bubbling up quietly, sometimes flowing with force. When water reaches the surface, it carries the memory of its hidden journey. It leaves darkness for light, cold for warmth, stillness for movement. It has been moving underground for centuries or even millennia before it touches the world above. Even in modern cities, underground water continues silently beneath streets and buildings. It does not notice roads, walls, or towers. It does not pause for human boundaries. It continues its slow, patient journey, connecting distant places in ways we cannot see. Some water rises into wells, giving life to towns and farms. Some seeps into streams and rivers, joining the surface waters as if nothing has happened. Yet every drop carries its history, the weight of years buried in stone and soil. Time feels different here. A single drop underground experiences centuries in a way that humans cannot imagine. Its motion is subtle, almost invisible, yet constant. It changes the shape of the land slowly, quietly, without anyone noticing. Eventually, underground water reaches the surface or joins larger rivers. It emerges into the open air, bringing with it the legacy of the underground world. The journey is not finished. It has only moved into a new phase, traveling from the hidden, dark depths toward the places we can see and touch. Water's path underground is endless. It has no beginning or end as humans measure time. It exists in a realm beyond immediate perception, moving slowly, shaping rock, carrying memory, and pressing upward to join the surface once more. When it finally rises, it becomes part of streams, lakes, and rivers. It is no longer hidden, yet its history remains unseen. It reminds us that even the quietest, slowest things have stories far older and more complex than we can imagine. Even now, water is pushing through layers beneath your feet. Some of it has been waiting for centuries to rise, to become visible, to move freely again. And soon, it will join the rivers, the rain, or the streams you can see, carrying the ancient journey into the present. Water does not stay in one place for long, even when it reaches life. The first living things to meet it are plants, waiting quietly in the soil. Roots reach down, sensing moisture, pulling it in slowly without noise. Each drop that enters a plant carries a history, a story of underground paths and ancient origins. It nourishes, fills, and moves, and then it leaves again to continue the journey. After plants, water finds animals. It flows into their bodies with every sip, every rainfall they drink from puddles or streams. It moves through the smallest vessels, into cells, into blood, into organs. It becomes part of their bodies as completely as the air they breathe. Some of the water inside an animal has already been inside another creature long ago. Some has passed through continents, oceans, and skies before it finally arrives here. Inside living bodies, water is alive in a different way. It carries nutrients, moves signals, and allows life to respond to the world. It becomes part of thought, part of action. Without water, a brain would slow, a heart would stop, a plant would droop. It is not just a liquid. It is movement and connection. Water inside the human body works silently, without hesitation. It enters through lips and throat, passes down, and fills veins and arteries. It flows into organs, muscles, and even the spaces between cells. Every movement you make, every thought you have, is shaped by water's presence. It helps electrical signals travel in the brain, helps blood carry oxygen, helps muscles contract. Even the pulse of your heart depends on the water inside you. Water is also part of memory, in a way that cannot be seen. It moves molecules, ions, and compounds that affect the way cells function. It is part of the chemistry that allows neurons to connect. The very process of thinking, of remembering, of reacting, cannot happen without water. It carries fragments of the past, even as it moves forward, connecting one moment to the next. Every drop that enters a body has a history longer than the body itself. Some was underground for centuries. Some fell as rain on a mountain far away. Some passed through plants, through animals, through people long gone. It does not forget. It does not stop. Water also leaves the body, quietly and without ceremony. It evaporates from the skin, leaves in sweat, is released in breath or urine. It returns to the world outside, to the soil, to the rivers, to the air, and sometimes to the clouds. Even as it exits, it carries a memory of what it touched, the motions it enabled, the thoughts it helped form, the life it sustained. When water leaves, the cycle continues. It flows into the ground or into streams, ready to enter another plant, another animal, another human. The water inside your body today may have been inside creatures centuries ago. It may have nourished someone living in a time you cannot imagine. It has been part of life long before you existed, and it will continue after you are gone. Plants absorb it, animals drink it, humans consume it, and yet it remains unchanged in essence. It adapts to each form, bends to each shape, and yet retains the memory of every place it has been. It is patient and persistent, moving silently, moving always. Even when water flows into rivers or evaporates into the air, it carries the imprint of life. It knows the paths it has taken, the bodies it has touched, the moments it has influenced. It is not just a liquid. It is a storyteller, a traveler, a witness to existence itself. Water inside a body can be still for a moment, but it never stops for long. It moves from cell to cell, organ to organ, brain to muscle, silently enabling every action. Even when you are asleep, water inside you continues its work. It carries signals that sustain life, repair cells, and keep thoughts ready to awaken. When water finally leaves the body, it does not return empty. It carries traces of experience, changes from metabolism, small shifts caused by life. It returns to the soil, the river, or the air transformed, yet still part of the same ancient flow. It has traveled from mountains, through the earth, into living things, and now back into the world once more. Some of the water you drank today was in a leaf yesterday, in a mountain stream the day before, in a cloud years ago. It has crossed continents, oceans, and skies. It has been part of life before humans existed, and it will continue after. Even inside your body, water is aware in a way we cannot measure. It reacts to temperature, to motion, to chemistry. It supports every cell, every heartbeat, every breath, every thought. It moves without hesitation, adapts without complaint, and leaves quietly when its work is done. And yet, even as it exits, it does not vanish. It becomes part of the air, part of the soil, part of the rivers, ready to begin again. It carries history, energy, and memory wherever it goes. Water in living things is not temporary. It is an invisible thread connecting life across time. It links past to present, body to body, moment to moment. And when it leaves, it continues that connection silently, endlessly, invisibly. Every sip you take today brings water that has been alive in other forms, other bodies, other times. It enters, sustains, and then leaves. And though you may not notice, it has already shaped thought, motion, and memory. Even now, the water inside you is moving, reshaping, enabling. It is part of something far larger than yourself. It will leave soon, but the journey does not end. It will continue in ways you cannot imagine, carrying the story of life forward. Water does not always move where we can see it. Sometimes it leaves without warning, without sound, without a trace. It escapes from surfaces, from soil, from rivers, from leaves, silently entering the air. This process is called evaporation, but it is more than a word. It is a transformation, a quiet disappearance that carries history upward. When sunlight touches water, it awakens hidden energy. Molecules start to move faster, shaking, vibrating, reaching for freedom. Some break away from the rest and rise into the air as vapor. They vanish from sight immediately, leaving only the memory of where they were. No one notices the exact moment, yet it has already happened. Water does not call attention to itself. It slips into the air like a secret, leaving surfaces unchanged to the human eye. A puddle seems the same, a leaf looks wet, yet some of the water has already gone. This movement is silent. No ripple, no sound, no mark remains to betray it. Even in cities, on streets, on rooftops, water escapes quietly. It climbs into the sky from concrete, from soil, from drains. It leaves without notice, moving into a space where humans rarely pay attention. Its journey is invisible, yet it continues, connecting earth and air. Evaporation does not follow a schedule. It can begin suddenly when the sun warms a small patch of water. A single drop can rise while its neighbors remain. It can stop and start again without warning, shifting between liquid and vapor in moments. Water changes state without permission, without announcement, without hesitation. Even when water rises from plants, it behaves the same way. Through tiny openings in leaves, it escapes into the atmosphere. This process is part of life, yet it is almost invisible. No one sees it leaving, no one hears it, yet it is always moving. Water leaves oceans, rivers, and lakes in the same manner. Large surfaces disappear into the air drop by drop, molecule by molecule. The ocean may seem endless, but each moment it loses countless particles. Some travel thousands of miles, carried high into the sky, until they meet other clouds, other systems, other movements. Evaporation does not obey gravity the way rivers do. Water rises because of energy, heat, and pressure. It climbs from the warm earth into the cooler air, reaching heights humans rarely notice. It floats upward silently, forming invisible layers and invisible streams in the sky. Even in the cold, water escapes. It changes slowly, sublimating from ice to vapor, skipping liquid entirely. This is less obvious, less noticeable, yet it still happens. Water is never still. Even in frozen landscapes, it rises quietly, unseen, unstoppable. No trace remains where water once was. A puddle can disappear entirely in hours, leaving the ground dry, yet the molecules are still present, high above, invisible, moving onward. The memory of that water remains only in the air, in the atmosphere, in the patterns of humidity and pressure it joins. Evaporation also connects every part of the world. Water leaving a forest may join currents above a desert. Water leaving the ocean may rise above mountains. It links distant places in ways humans cannot see or measure easily. Each molecule carries part of its origin into the unknown. The air becomes a river of water we cannot see, rising silently, moving without sound, joining with vapor from every surface on Earth. It is a hidden network, always changing, always shifting, always connected. Even the tiniest leaf contributes to this invisible flow, sending molecules upward into the sky. Water escaping surfaces is not random. Temperature, sunlight, pressure, and wind shape its path. Yet it remains unpredictable. A single patch of water can vanish in one place while nearby pools remain. It acts independently, changing state without warning, rising where it is least expected. Some water forms invisible layers above the earth. It gathers slowly, almost unnoticed, until the air above becomes dense with it. Clouds will form eventually, but at first it exists as quiet, unseen vapor. No human eye can trace it, No camera can catch its first steps. Evaporation is a transformation that defies observation. Water does not announce itself, does not signal its leaving, does not leave a trail. It changes quietly, rising, escaping, joining the unseen currents above. It is already in motion before anyone realizes it. Even in your own home, water escapes from pots, from sinks, from the floor, and even from the air around you. It rises silently, climbing into higher spaces where it becomes part of something larger. It is moving everywhere, connecting rooms, streets, forests, and oceans in a network that is invisible and immense. Water changes, rises, and becomes lighter in the air. Its molecules float individually at first, but eventually join others. Together, they form layers of moisture that drift far from their origin. They leave the surface without sound, without mark, and yet their impact is enormous. In deserts, water vanishes from sand almost immediately, yet it continues moving above, connecting distant clouds and skies. In jungles, it leaves leaves, soil, rivers, and lakes to rise upward, creating a hidden network that humans rarely notice. Even in frozen regions, sublimation quietly removes water from ice and snow, lifting it toward the clouds without ever touching liquid. When water rises into the sky, it becomes part of something larger. Invisible currents carry it to clouds, to storms, to distant lands. It leaves no proof on the ground. It leaves no sound. It leaves only the space it once occupied, now empty, now silent, now ready for the next cycle. Water changing state is not always predictable. It can rise slowly, molecule by molecule, or escape in bursts when heat increases. It may linger above for hours or days, joining other unseen layers. It becomes part of the air, part of the wind, part of the atmosphere, waiting for the next moment to fall. Even now, water is escaping from surfaces around you, from soil, from leaves, from puddles, from every container exposed to air or warmth. It rises silently, joining the invisible network above. It will meet other molecules from oceans, rivers, forests, and cities, forming clouds and currents far away. By the time water reaches the sky, it has already changed many times. It has been underground, in rivers, in plants, in living bodies. It has moved slowly, patiently, quietly, carrying the memory of every place it has touched. And now it floats above, unseen, waiting for what comes next. Water in the sky does not stay alone. It gathers with others, forming clouds that float like silent containers. Clouds are not permanent. They hold water for a while, but they do not own it. The drops inside are free to leave when the conditions change, and they often do without warning. In clouds, water waits. It does not rush. It does not decide where to go. It follows rules set by temperature and pressure, invisible forces that guide every molecule. No drop acts on its own. No drop thinks. Yet all of them are moving together, shaping the clouds silently. Clouds themselves are like floating cities of water. Some are thin and wispy, almost invisible. Others are dense and dark, full of weight that humans can feel when rain finally falls. But even dense clouds are patient. They wait, balancing the weight of countless drops, holding them aloft until the air can no longer keep them. Temperature decides much of the cloud's behavior. Warm air can lift water higher, holding it in the sky longer. Cooler layers push water down, forcing drops to join others or change state. Pressure guides them as well, squeezing some together, letting others separate. This is how clouds grow, shrink, and move without ever touching the ground. Water in clouds is suspended in a delicate balance. Molecules hang together, forming tiny clusters. They bump and brush past each other without noise. They combine and separate endlessly. They wait until the moment comes when they can fall, when gravity finally wins, when the air can no longer hold them. Some clouds travel thousands of miles before a single drop leaves. They move over oceans, deserts, mountains, and forests. No one can see where the drops have been, but they carry the memory of every place. They hold the weight of ancient water, of rain that fell centuries ago, of snow that melted long before humans built cities. Clouds also protect water. They hide it from the heat of the sun for a while. They prevent evaporation from spreading too quickly. They keep the drops together, waiting for the right moment to release them. And when that moment comes, it can change everything below. Water does not leave clouds randomly. The first fall is never careless. It begins when clusters of drops grow heavy enough. It begins when temperature and pressure reach a balance that cannot hold them any longer. At first, it is invisible as the tiniest drops start to descend. Then more join, forming patterns, forming shapes, forming streams that are almost alive in their movement. Even before the fall, clouds are full of tension. They are darkened, layered, heavy with water that has been traveling for a long time. Some drops have been underground centuries ago. Some have been inside rivers, inside lakes, inside living things. They have been evaporated, carried aloft, and now they wait, part of a cloud that spans the sky. Water inside clouds does not act alone. It interacts with air, with wind, with temperature differences. A small change can shift thousands of drops. A tiny rise or fall in temperature can cause drops to merge, fall, or float higher. Everything is connected, every molecule affecting the next, yet no one is in control. When the first drop begins to fall, it is a quiet movement. The drop has waited long enough. It responds to gravity, to air pressure, to its own weight. It separates from the others for a moment, then the next follows. It is the start of a journey back to the surface, but the cloud still holds thousands more, waiting, patient, silent. Sometimes the fall begins in the mountains, high above the ground. Sometimes over oceans, invisible at first. Sometimes a single drop breaks free before the cloud even seems ready. And once it starts, it can continue in waves, forming rain, snow, or hail. Each drop has its own story, its own memory, its own past, yet they move together as one. Clouds are temporary containers, but their role is crucial. They hold water, shelter it, and release it at the right moment. They guide the first fall, determine the timing, and decide the shape of the descent. Without clouds, water would not reach the land in the same way. Without clouds, the journey of water would be incomplete. Water in clouds moves in patterns invisible to humans. It responds to heat, pressure, wind, and obstacles. It adjusts constantly, forming shapes that last for minutes or hours, sometimes days. It can float over cities, deserts, oceans, and forests without ever touching the surface. It can travel vast distances, waiting for the perfect moment to return to the earth. Every drop in a cloud has a history. Some were once underground for centuries. Some passed through plants, rivers, or animals. Some were part of storms that reshaped landscapes long ago. And now they are part of a cloud, waiting for the first fall, ready to join the world below. The first fall is not sudden in reality, though it may seem so. It is the result of centuries of movement, changes, and preparation. The drop separates from the invisible web of others, pulled by gravity, guided by air, and influenced by temperature. It begins its journey downward, returning to land or water, completing one part of its cycle. Even after the first drop falls, clouds remain alive. They hold more water, more history, more stories of journeys that began long ago. They can release another wave, or pause, or change direction entirely. The cloud is a living container, full of motion and memory, holding water that has already traveled far. And sometimes the first fall is only the beginning. A small drop can trigger more, forming showers, storms, or gentle rains. Each drop carries the memory of underground rivers, oceans, lakes, and living bodies. Each drop moves silently, connected to every other molecule in the cloud, yet following forces far beyond its control. By the time water reaches the ground, it has already lived many lives. It has been underground, in rivers, in plants, in animals, and in clouds. It has waited, suspended, carried by invisible forces, traveling silently through the sky. And now it is returning, beginning a new stage of its journey, ready to continue shaping the world below. Clouds are temporary, water is patient, and the first fall signals a transition. Water leaves its hidden place, responding to forces too subtle to see. It leaves without sound, without warning, without trace, yet it is already present in the world once more. Water in the sky is patient, but eventually it must return. Rain begins quietly, the first drops separating from clouds and falling toward the ground. Some drops fall slowly, almost lazily, as if testing the air below. Others accelerate, pulled by gravity and shaped by wind, tumbling through the sky with invisible force. Not every drop reaches the earth. Some evaporate before they touch the surface, vanishing as silently as they appeared. They rise again, returning to clouds, waiting for another chance to fall. Others meet warmer air and disappear into nothing, leaving no trace of their journey through the sky. Snowfall is another story. Water can freeze midair, transforming into ice crystals that float and rotate before landing. These crystals form unique patterns, fragile and precise, shaped by temperature, humidity, and pressure. Each flake is different, a frozen record of the atmosphere it passed through. Some snow melts before it touches the earth. Some falls and remains frozen for weeks, months, or even years, hidden in cold places where time seems to slow. The way water returns is never predictable. Rain may pour in sudden bursts or fall as a gentle sprinkle. Snow may drift down in silence, covering everything in white, or fall in sharp flurries, rattling against the world below. Hail can form when water is carried high into clouds and frozen repeatedly, becoming dense and heavy before it finally drops. Some drops are caught in the wind, carried sideways, sometimes for miles, never touching the ground at all. They join clouds again, or evaporate midair, becoming part of the atmosphere for days before returning. Even as humans watch the sky, they cannot see the full path of each drop. The journey is hidden, mysterious, and endlessly complex. Water can fall into rivers, lakes, or oceans, returning to the larger systems it left. It may soak into soil, feeding plants and trees. It may enter aquifers, sliding underground where it will remain for centuries. The same water can cycle endlessly, moving between clouds, rivers, living bodies, and underground reservoirs, each stage a different story in its journey. Snowfall can accumulate in mountains, freezing for years. Some of this ice will melt slowly, feeding rivers gradually. Some remains trapped forever in glaciers, storing memories of the climate long before humans existed. Each frozen drop is a record of time, pressure, and temperature. Even the smallest raindrop carries history. It may have fallen in a different place decades ago, returned to the sky through evaporation, and now falls again in a new location. It is impossible to count the lives each drop has experienced, yet every single one is part of the endless cycle. The sound of rain is deceptive. What we hear is only a fraction of the movement. Drops collide, fall, splash, but most of the story is invisible. Some disappear in the air, Some soak silently into the ground. Some freeze before landing, forming frost or hail. Snow tells a quieter story. It can land silently, covering everything in a blanket of white, or melt in the warmth of the sun, returning to liquid before humans notice. Some snow never melts in its original place. It remains trapped in glaciers, high mountains, and polar ice for centuries, frozen testimony to water's long memory. Not all rain reaches the soil either. Some evaporates instantly when it touches hot surfaces. Some is absorbed by leaves and evaporates again, never joining streams or rivers. Some is captured by wind, carried to new places, and begins another cycle entirely. The journey of a single drop is never simple. Even in a storm, water behaves in unpredictable ways. Thunderclouds may release torrents, yet some drops never hit the ground. Some fall into the ocean, joining vast bodies of moving water. Others linger in the air as mist or fog, waiting for the next change in temperature or pressure. Snowfall can last for hours, days, or even weeks. Some flakes land gently, dissolving immediately. Others pile together, forming thick layers that change the landscape. And some freeze forever, part of ice caps that will outlast generations of humans. Rain and snow are not merely weather events. They are part of a system that has existed long before humans, long before life itself. Each drop is a traveler, moving between clouds, land, and water. It is part of rivers, lakes, oceans, glaciers, and underground reservoirs. It leaves no permanent trace, yet reshapes everything it touches. When water finally impacts the earth, it does so with quiet force. A single raindrop hitting a leaf may seem insignificant, but multiplied millions of times, it shapes rivers, carves valleys, and nourishes forests. Snow piling on mountains slowly shapes glaciers that can reshape entire landscapes over centuries. Hail striking the ground may break leaves, chip rocks, or dent the earth. Even invisible drops have impact. Evaporated rain affects humidity, air pressure, and the movement of clouds. Water that disappears midair contributes to patterns of weather that humans only notice later. Every drop, every flake, every molecule has an effect on the world. Some water freezes forever, storing history in the ice. Ice cores taken from glaciers reveal temperatures, air composition, and storms from hundreds of thousands of years ago. These frozen drops are like silent historians, keeping record of Earth's past. They are untouched, waiting for scientists to uncover their secrets. When rain or snow finally reaches the ground, the impact is immediate and long-lasting. It feeds rivers, fills lakes, nurtures plants, and sustains animals. It seeps underground, joining aquifers, or runs off into the sea, continuing the endless cycle. Even the tiniest drop has completed a journey that began centuries ago, carrying memory, energy, and history. Some water never lands in the same place twice. It may start in the mountains, fall on a city, evaporate, rise into a cloud, and fall on an ocean. It may have been underground centuries before it appears as rain again. It is part of an invisible network connecting every place on Earth. Rain and snow are the moments when water's hidden journey becomes visible. The silent, patient waiting ends. The transformation in the sky, guided by temperature and pressure, concludes with impact. The long journey underground, through living things, and through invisible air finally shows itself in falling water. Even the first drop that hits the ground carries history older than humans. It is part of a cycle that never stops, never rests, and never forgets. It connects clouds, ice, rivers, underground reservoirs, plants, and animals. And when that drop finally lands, it continues to move, to shape, and to return, completing one stage of its endless story. Water does not stop when it reaches the ground. It moves across land, carving paths that take centuries to notice. Rivers and streams are not merely liquid, they are sculptors, shaping the earth with every drop that passes. Even the smallest trickle can slowly wear away rock, soil, and clay, leaving marks invisible in the moment, but powerful over time. Erosion is the language water speaks to the land. It is patient, quiet, relentless. Rain washes soil from hillsides. Rivers cut through rock, forming channels that deepen slowly, almost imperceptibly. Water does not rush, yet its power accumulates. Canyons are one of water's most visible signs. They are records of movement, carved over millions of years. The Colorado River, for example, shaped one of the deepest canyons in the world, not in days or years, but over eons. The rock looks solid, unyielding, but water's patience over time bends even the hardest stone. Even invisible water reshapes land. Underground rivers push soil aside. Water seeping through cracks widens them slowly. Springs and streams erode paths no human sees until the changes are enormous. Tiny droplets, repeated endlessly, can fracture rock, move mountains, or hollow out entire valleys. Water follows gravity, flowing where it can. It finds weak points, exploiting them, wearing them down. It carries sediment, pebbles, and sand that act like tiny chisels, amplifying the power of each drop. Over centuries, the invisible movement becomes obvious in the form of riverbeds, cliffs, and gorges. Rain alone shapes the land in quiet ways. Raindrops hitting soil loosen particles, slowly washing them away into streams. Even the smallest storm contributes to the slow sculpting of the landscape. Water flowing over hills and plains gathers speed, cutting deeper paths and shaping every surface it touches. Erosion is not random. It follows patterns guided by gravity, pressure, and the makeup of the earth. Soft rock erodes faster. Hard rock resists longer. Yet eventually, even the strongest stone gives way to the persistent flow of water. Water in glaciers has a different power. Slowly moving ice scours mountains, carving valleys and polishing rocks. Glaciers may move only a few inches each day, almost unnoticeable, yet over centuries, they create landscapes that appear massive and eternal. Water in frozen form is still a force, silent but unstoppable. Streams and rivers carry the evidence of erosion everywhere. They pick up stones, soil, and sand, grinding them together, reshaping themselves constantly. A riverbed changes over decades, a canyon over millennia. Water does not fight for attention, but the results are undeniable. Even underground, water carves invisible channels. It seeps through limestone, creating caverns, sinkholes, and underground rivers. These hidden paths can collapse or connect in ways that surprise the surface world. Water is not always seen shaping land, yet it never stops. Water can create sudden changes as well. Floods can wash away soil in days that would have taken centuries to erode normally. Heavy rainfall can carve new gullies, move sediment, and change river courses. Yet the long, slow movement of everyday water is even more powerful over time. It is patient and relentless, always sculpting the earth in subtle ways. Canyons, valleys, and gorges are not accidents. They are the results of persistent water, cutting, shaping, and removing material slowly. Each rock broken down, each sediment carried away, is part of a story millions of years in the making. Water is invisible at first, but its results are enormous. Even deserts are shaped by water. Rainfall may be rare, but when it comes, it can carve channels, form basins, and move sand in ways that appear sudden. Flash floods can create canyons almost overnight, yet even these events follow patterns established by years of prior erosion. Water is both gentle and forceful. It can create rolling hills by depositing sediment. It can flatten landscapes with sudden floods. It can hollow mountains over millennia. The same water that nourishes plants can carve rock. It is patient, quiet, yet unyielding. Water carries the memory of its past journeys as it shapes the earth. Drops that fell as rain centuries ago may have seeped underground, moved stones, or shaped a canyon wall. When new rain comes, it continues the work, joining forces with the past, leaving traces that may last for millions of years. Even small streams show the power of water's patience. They meander, curl, and cut through soft land, creating shapes that may seem random but are part of a long process. The curves and bends of rivers are records of water's unseen effort over time. Water shapes land in every climate. In mountains, it cuts deep gorges. In valleys, it forms rivers and lakes. In deserts, it carves sudden channels. Even underground, it hollows spaces, forming caves that humans discover centuries later. Erosion is a conversation between water and rock. Water applies pressure, moves particles, and shapes surfaces. Rock resists, bends, and slowly gives way. Over time, landscapes emerge that appear permanent, but they are the result of countless, patient interactions between water and stone. The impact of water is not only physical. It creates ecosystems, allowing plants and animals to inhabit valleys and plains. It forms soil, delivers nutrients, and shapes the conditions for life to thrive. Even invisible erosion contributes to these systems, moving sediment quietly underground. Mountains themselves are sculpted by water. Rain, snowmelt, rivers, and underground flow carve ridges, valleys, and cliffs. Water does not fight the rock. It works slowly, almost imperceptibly, yet it always wins in the end. When waterfalls form, the power of water becomes visible. The constant fall removes rock from the edge, deepens the pool below, and reshapes the riverbed. Even massive cliffs are worn down, centimeter by centimeter, year by year. What seems solid and unchanging is actually being transformed continuously. Water leaves a mark wherever it goes. Even when invisible underground or in small streams, it shapes the land. It carries soil, moves rocks, fills valleys, and hollows mountains. Its impact may not be immediate, but over decades, centuries, and millennia, it is undeniable. By the time water completes its cycle, landscapes are changed. Canyons are carved, valleys deepened, rivers rerouted. Mountains and plains are sculpted in ways humans cannot notice in a single lifetime. Water is the quiet force behind every change, invisible at first, unstoppable over time. Even now, water continues its work. Every raindrop, every stream, every underground flow shapes the land around you. The impact may not be obvious in the moment, but the earth itself remembers. The patient, persistent work of water reshapes everything it touches, silently and endlessly. Water eventually finds its way to the oceans, the largest reservoirs on Earth. These vast bodies are deeper than most humans can imagine. The sunlight that warms rivers and lakes barely reaches the upper layers of the ocean. Below, darkness dominates and water exists in ways completely alien to life on land. The deeper the water goes, the greater the pressure. Each layer above presses down, crushing everything beneath. Yet water continues to move, flowing, circulating, and finding its way through hidden currents. Humans can only explore a fraction of these depths. Even the most advanced technology barely scratches the surface of what lies beneath. Life exists in this darkness, though it is unlike anything we see above. Creatures have adapted to the pressure, the cold, and the lack of light. Some generate their own glow, small flashes of light to attract prey or communicate. Others rely on movement, sound, or chemical signals to survive. In these depths, water is life, energy, and space all at once. Oceans hold water that has traveled long and far. Some drops have been underground, in rivers, in clouds, in living bodies. Some were part of ice sheets or glaciers before melting into rivers. Every molecule carries history now gathered in the endless dark. The ocean is layered. The top, warm and light, is full of waves, currents, and surface life. Below, the water becomes colder, denser, and darker. Pressure increases. Few creatures can survive the extremes, yet life finds a way in the most unlikely forms. Water in the ocean does not stay in one place. It circulates slowly, moving from surface to depth, across continents, beneath currents invisible to the eye. Cold water sinks, warm water rises. It merges, divides, and travels, carrying nutrients, minerals, and history across thousands of miles. Some areas are completely silent. No wave breaks, no wind touches the surface, no sunlight penetrates. Here, water exists under immense pressure, moving slowly but inexorably. Rocks beneath are carved, trenches deepened, mountains submerged. The ocean floor is shaped by the same patient force water has applied everywhere else on Earth. Even in the darkness, water supports life. Tiny plankton drift in the faint upper layers, providing food for creatures far larger. Predators lurk in the shadows, sensing movement in the dense, cold water. Some have eyes adapted to see in near-complete darkness. Others have no eyes at all, relying on touch, vibration, and chemical signals to navigate. Water in the deep ocean behaves differently than on the surface. It moves slowly, creeping along under pressure, shaping trenches, cliffs, and valleys. Currents carry it across vast distances. It connects continents, merges with other waters, and continues the endless cycle begun in clouds, rivers, and underground reservoirs. Pressure shapes everything. At extreme depths, water compresses and behaves in ways that seem impossible to the human mind. Sound travels differently. Life itself is compacted, adapted, and silent in its movements. Even the tiniest currents have force, moving slowly yet capable of shifting sediment, nutrients, and even shaping the land beneath. Some water remains untouched by humans. It has never seen a boat, a submersible, or a probe. It has existed in this state for centuries, sometimes millennia, following its path through oceans, seas, and hidden currents. It has been part of the planet far longer than the civilizations we know. Life in the deep is mysterious. Some creatures generate light, small flashes in the blackness to lure prey or attract mates. Others are invisible, moving silently through the pressure without leaving a trace. Even bacteria thrive, surviving on chemicals from vents, rocks, and decaying matter from above. Every drop of water here is part of an ecosystem that humans can barely imagine. The deeper layers are even more extreme. The pressure can crush, the temperature can drop near freezing, and light is gone entirely. Water here is patient, slow-moving, full of energy yet contained by forces beyond sight. It carries minerals, sediments, and the memory of journeys from mountains, rivers, and glaciers. Oceans are not uniform. Currents move water from pole to equator, from coast to coast. Warm water rises, cold water sinks, and the cycle continues endlessly. Even in total darkness, water participates in this global movement, shaping climate, weather, and ecosystems far from where it started. Some water in the deep ocean has been there for centuries. It may have been part of ice long ago, carried under glaciers, or submerged from rivers that no longer exist. It may never see sunlight again. It moves silently, slowly, without sound, without notice, yet never stopping. The ocean floor is carved by the same invisible forces seen in rivers and glaciers. Trenches are deeper than mountains are tall. Canyons and valleys exist underwater, shaped by currents and slow erosion over millennia. Even where humans cannot reach, water leaves its mark. Sound behaves strangely in these depths. It travels faster, bends differently, sometimes carrying signals for miles. Life adapts to this unusual environment, relying on sound, pressure, and motion instead of light. Water in these depths is both medium and habitat, holding energy and life in a form completely alien to those above. Water merges, divides, and moves with patience. The molecules that fell as rain centuries ago passed through living bodies and escaped into clouds now exist in these dark oceans. They are part of currents, feeding life, moving nutrients, and shaping the land below. Even the deepest points, the trenches far beyond human reach, hold water that has been part of countless cycles. It is ancient, cold, and full of memory. It has never touched sunlight, yet it is part of the story of every river, every drop, every glacier. The ocean is a record keeper. It stores the memory of all water that joins it. It holds history in currents, in sediment, in pressure, in every drop. Some water will remain here for centuries before returning to surface layers, evaporating or feeding life again. Even in darkness, water is alive with motion. Currents move slowly, mixing, separating, rising, and sinking. It carries minerals, nutrients, and temperature across the globe. It is a network invisible to humans, yet essential to life everywhere. In the deep, water exists beyond human perception. It is silent, dark, heavy, and patient. It is more than liquid. It is memory, energy, and movement contained by the forces of the planet. Some water is so deep that sound cannot reach it, light cannot touch it, and humans cannot visit it. Yet it continues its endless journey, connecting mountains, rivers, clouds, living bodies, and underground reservoirs in ways invisible and mysterious. Water at this depth ends deeper than sound. It is present beyond measurement, beyond observation, beyond imagination. It is patient, persistent, and infinite, part of a cycle that has existed long before humans and will continue long after. Water is not only a liquid that moves, it is also a medium for sound. Vibrations travel through it in ways that seem almost magical. A sound in water behaves differently than in air. It can travel farther, faster, and in patterns that are invisible to the eye. Even the quietest whispers can carry long distances underwater. A small movement, a tiny vibration, can be felt far away by creatures that have adapted to sense it. Fish and deep-sea animals rely on this, detecting predators or prey through sound alone. Humans, on the other hand, often underestimate the reach of water's voice. Sound moves faster in water because the molecules are closer together than in air. Vibrations push through the liquid, bouncing, compressing, and stretching in ways air cannot replicate. A noise that disappears immediately in the atmosphere may travel for miles underwater, almost as if the water remembers it. Water also changes the quality of sound. Low frequencies travel farther, while higher tones fade quickly. This creates a mysterious underwater world of communication, where whispers and echoes mingle, invisible and incomprehensible to humans. Even the smallest drop contributes to this network, carrying vibrations through currents and layers of water. Rivers and streams carry sound differently than oceans. A trickle over rocks creates tiny echoes, almost imperceptible. Yet in still water, A single ripple can carry noise farther than expected. The shape of the riverbed, the depth, and even temperature affect how the vibration moves. The ocean is more extreme. In deep water, pressure compresses molecules, allowing sound to travel faster and farther than anywhere on land. Sounds from miles away can reach creatures adapted to listen in darkness. Whales sing songs that echo across hundreds of miles, and tiny crustaceans communicate in clicks that ripple through layers of water we cannot see. Water is also a filter. It can absorb, reflect, or refract sound. Some sounds vanish entirely, leaving only a whisper behind. Others are carried unchanged, pure and intact, floating through currents and layers until they reach ears or sensors far away. Even rain on the surface creates vibrations in the water below. Each drop hitting a pond or lake sends ripples and tiny pulses through the liquid. Some are absorbed immediately. Some travel farther than anyone would expect. Water acts like a hidden orchestra, vibrating silently, invisibly, everywhere. The temperature and density of water affect sound too. Colder water carries vibrations differently than warmer water. Saltier water conducts sound in ways that pure water does not. This creates hidden layers, invisible paths for sound to travel, guiding it through deep oceans, rivers, and lakes. Even underground water carries vibration. Subterranean rivers and aquifers transmit sound from the surface, from animals, or even from geological activity. The molecules pass the energy along, moving signals in patterns we cannot see. A quake, a splash, or even a heavy rainfall can send waves through hidden water networks, vibrating silently beneath the earth. Sound in water is also a record of history. It carries traces of the environment it passes through, influenced by depth, pressure, temperature, and movement. A drop that has traveled through rivers, lakes, and oceans may carry subtle echoes of its journey. Some scientists can measure these vibrations to understand underwater geography, currents, and even animal behavior. Water and sound are inseparable in nature. Even tiny creatures rely on it for survival. Frogs use vibrations to detect predators. Fish sense currents and obstacles by feeling subtle pulses. Even plankton can respond to low-frequency movements that pass through water. Sound shapes life in water just as water shapes the land. Whispers, clicks, and vibrations can travel farther than we imagine. A single drop hitting the surface of the ocean can create pulses that move hundreds of feet below. The movement is almost invisible, yet powerful. It is a silent conversation, connecting distant parts of the water world. Human perception underestimates this. We hear only a fraction of what water carries. Our ears cannot detect low frequencies traveling far or tiny pulses moving slowly through hidden currents. Yet underwater life experiences the full symphony, every vibration a message, a warning, or a guide. Water also dampens sound in some ways. It absorbs high-frequency vibrations more quickly than low-frequency ones. This means subtle noises may disappear entirely, leaving only distant echoes behind. Some sounds travel in invisible tunnels created by temperature layers and pressure differences, connecting oceans and seas. Even frozen water can transmit vibrations. Glaciers, icebergs, and frozen rivers carry pulses through solid ice, moving energy from one place to another. Ice cracks, shifts, or melts, sending sound in ways that seem impossible, yet the water molecules carry it forward. The interaction of water and sound is endless. Every drop contributes to the network, whether falling as rain, flowing in rivers, circulating in oceans, or frozen in ice. Sound and water are connected, invisible, moving through the world silently, constantly, and without pause. Water itself can create resonance. Cavities in lakes, hollows under ice, or spaces between rocks can amplify sound, making tiny movements detectable far from their origin. Even the subtlest ripple can produce echoes that travel unseen, unnoticed, yet powerful. Silence in water is just another part of the story, where vibrations are absorbed or dissipated, where molecules absorb energy and do not transmit it. Silence exists. It is not emptiness. It is a quiet stage where sound can appear elsewhere, travel further, or prepare for the next movement. The deeper water goes, the more pronounced this effect becomes. Deep oceans are a mix of distant whispers, amplified echoes, and vast silent zones where sound barely travels. Pressure, density, and temperature shape invisible pathways, guiding vibrations through the hidden world beneath waves. Even a single drop falling into a pond is part of this process. The ripple, the tiny vibration, carries energy into molecules around it. It touches creatures too small to see, paths too hidden to measure, and connects to the wider network of water. Sound in water ends not with noise but with silence. After every vibration passes, after every echo fades, there is stillness. It is a quiet more profound than on land, because the water has carried and transformed every pulse along its path. Silence underwater is part of the story, a pause before the next vibration begins. Every drop, every wave, every current carries potential for sound. Even invisible pulses exist in water we cannot see. Yet all of this concludes in silence, a quiet that is deeper than any human ear can perceive, waiting for the next movement, the next ripple, the next whisper. Water holds heat in a way that few other things do. It warms slowly and cools slowly, storing energy like a silent keeper. This is why oceans, lakes, and rivers can affect weather far beyond their borders. The sun may heat the land quickly, but water takes its time, absorbing energy and releasing it gradually. Because of this, nights near large bodies of water cool more slowly. The water releases the heat it has stored during the day, keeping the air above warmer. Land without water cools fast, but near oceans, lakes, or rivers, temperature changes are gentle. This is why coastal cities rarely experience the extremes that inland areas do. Water also affects wind and storms. Warm water heats the air above it, causing it to rise. Cooler air moves in to replace it, creating wind. Storms often gain power over oceans because water supplies both energy and moisture. Even tiny changes in temperature can alter currents, pressure, and weather patterns. Water's ability to store heat is linked to its molecular structure. It can absorb a lot of energy without changing temperature quickly. This makes it a stabilizer for Earth's climate. It moderates extremes, prevents sudden drops, and helps maintain balance between land and sky. Land heats quickly, while water takes longer. The difference causes gentle breezes as air moves between the warm land and cooler water. These movements seem small, almost unnoticed, but they have a profound effect on daily weather. Even deep oceans participate in this process. Heat absorbed at the surface slowly moves downward, carried by currents that connect one side of the planet to another. Cold water rises in some areas, warm water sinks in others, forming a slow, hidden conveyor belt. This circulation distributes energy and stabilizes climates across the globe. Water's heat storage also explains why some regions have mild winters. Snow and ice melt slowly near water, keeping temperatures more even. Even in deserts far from oceans, groundwater can moderate heat slightly, affecting local weather in ways humans rarely notice. The effect of water on climate is not limited to heat. It also regulates humidity, evaporation, and condensation. Water evaporating from oceans takes energy with it, cooling the surface. Condensation releases that energy, warming the air elsewhere. This continuous cycle links temperature, water, and climate in a delicate balance. Night and day illustrate this clearly. During the day, sunlight heats land and water. Land heats faster, water slower. At night, the land cools quickly, but the water releases stored heat, keeping nearby air warmer. This balance creates life-friendly environments and protects ecosystems from sudden temperature swings. Water in rivers, lakes, and oceans also moderates seasonal changes. In spring, melting ice releases cold water, slowing warming on land. In autumn, warm water slows cooling, giving plants and animals time to adapt. Water's patience ensures that change happens gradually, preventing sudden shocks to life. Even small bodies of water have a noticeable effect. A pond in a garden may keep the air warmer at night. A river flowing through a valley may moderate temperature swings, protecting nearby plants and animals. This subtle influence is repeated on a massive scale across oceans, seas, and lakes, shaping global climate. The heat stored in water is also linked to storms and hurricanes. Warm water provides energy that fuels storms. The higher the temperature, the more energy is available. Yet water's slow release of heat also prevents these storms from becoming chaotic too quickly. It is a controlled power, silent and hidden beneath waves. Even ice participates in this balancing act. Frozen water traps cold energy, preventing it from affecting surrounding air immediately. When ice melts, it releases cold slowly, moderating heat and helping maintain balance. Glaciers, ice caps, and snow-covered mountains are natural regulators of temperature, storing and releasing energy seasonally. Water does not only store heat, it spreads it. Ocean currents carry warm water from the equator to poles, cold water from poles to the tropics. This movement affects rainfall, wind patterns, and the temperature of entire continents. Without water, climate would be extreme and unstable, swinging violently between heat and cold. Even underground water contributes. Aquifers absorb heat slowly and release it to the surface, influencing local microclimates. Water stored in soil affects temperature, preventing sudden drops at night or spikes during the day. Plants also rely on this moderated water to survive temperature extremes. The interplay between water and temperature is continuous. Water absorbs, stores, moves, and releases energy without pause. It connects rivers, lakes, oceans, glaciers, and underground reservoirs. It stabilizes weather patterns, protects ecosystems, and shapes life-friendly conditions. Humans feel this without always noticing. Coastal cities are mild. Islands have gentle climates and life thrives near water. Temperature extremes are reduced, storms are moderated, and seasons follow predictable rhythms. Water is the unseen keeper of balance, quietly ensuring that Earth systems operate smoothly. Even small changes in water temperature can have huge effects. Slight warming can fuel stronger storms. Slight cooling can shift currents, change rainfall, and affect entire ecosystems. Water's role is subtle, yet its power is immense, controlling climate on a global scale. Balance is the key. Water stores heat when it is abundant, releases it when needed, moves energy silently across continents, and maintains the rhythm of day and night. It links clouds, rivers, oceans, and life, forming an intricate system that sustains the planet. Without water's patient control, temperatures would swing wildly, storms would be more violent, and life would struggle to survive. Even as humans watch the weather, water continues its quiet work. It absorbs sunlight, releases energy, and spreads warmth across the globe. It creates gentle nights near oceans, cool mornings, and mild days in regions buffered by rivers and lakes. It is invisible in action, yet its effect is felt everywhere. Water and temperature are inseparable. Where water exists, heat is moderated, extremes are softened, and the planet remains hospitable. It is a hidden force, silent yet immense, shaping climate for millions of years. Even now, every drop in oceans, lakes, rivers, and underground reservoirs participates in this balancing act, quietly controlling the flow of energy and sustaining life. The story ends with balance. Day and night, heat and cold, warmth and chill, all are softened and moderated by water. It is the patient force that ensures life thrives, climates remain stable, and changes happen slowly enough to support the world. Every drop contributes to this equilibrium, every current carries energy, and every molecule plays a part in the unseen dance of heat and water. Water has a memory unlike anything else on Earth. It carries the past, hidden in ways we rarely notice. One of the clearest examples is ice. Ice may look solid and lifeless, but it holds a story that stretches back thousands of years. Ice cores are like time machines. Scientists drill deep into glaciers, mountains, and ice sheets to take narrow cylinders of frozen water. Each layer is a record of a specific year, sometimes even a single season. The layers stack like pages of a book, preserving history in perfect detail. Within these frozen layers, air is trapped. Tiny bubbles capture the atmosphere of the past. They contain gases, moisture, and particles that were present when the water first froze. By studying these bubbles, scientists can tell what the air was like hundreds or thousands of years ago. Water in ice stores more than air. It holds particles from volcanic eruptions, dust from deserts, and traces of ancient forests. Each layer is a snapshot of the environment at that moment in time. A drop of water frozen in the past carries stories of storms, heat waves, and even wildfires that happened long before humans were born. Ice cores reveal changes in climate. By analyzing the trapped gases, scientists can measure levels of carbon dioxide, oxygen, and other elements. This tells the story of temperature changes, droughts, floods, and ice ages. Water becomes a historian, silently keeping records that no other medium can. Even the smallest layer of ice contains evidence. A single season can be traced through tiny changes in composition, reflecting precipitation, temperature, and air quality. When layers accumulate over centuries, they form a record of Earth's atmosphere, climate, and environment. Water, frozen and patient, holds this memory without ever speaking. Ice is not the only way water preserves time. Glaciers move slowly, carrying trapped air, sediment, and minerals across mountains and valleys. As glaciers advance or retreat, they transport ancient water across landscapes, leaving clues for those who study them. Every movement preserves evidence of the past, even as it reshapes the land. Trapped air in ice cores reveals more than temperature. It tells us about wildfires, volcanic eruptions, and even the dust from deserts that blew across continents. Some ice contains pollen, showing what plants grew long ago. Others hold microscopic particles from human activity, marking the recent history of our species. Water in ice does not forget. It is patient, waiting silently for centuries, sometimes millennia, before being studied. A drop frozen today may not melt for thousands of years, yet it holds the same story it had the moment it froze. It is history in liquid form, waiting for warmth to release it. Even melting ice tells a story. As glaciers and ice sheets melt, they release ancient water that has never touched the ocean before. This water may carry minerals, gases, and even microscopic life from eras long past. Each drop that melts from ice is a message from history, returning to rivers, lakes, and oceans to continue its journey. Ice cores also show how humans have affected the planet. Pollutants from the past century appear in the frozen layers, giving a timeline of industrial activity. Water records it all silently. It keeps the history of our actions, holding it in frozen layers until we choose to study it. Water preserves time in many forms. Snow that falls and never melts, glaciers that move slowly, ice sheets covering poles. Each is a repository of memory. Even underground, water trapped in aquifers can be thousands of years old. It holds elements from ancient rain, minerals, and even traces of life from long ago. The deeper the ice, the older the water. Some glaciers contain layers older than human civilization. Some polar ice has trapped water that fell as snow hundreds of thousands of years ago. Every layer is like a diary, a frozen record of climate, air, and life. Water's memory extends beyond ice. Rivers carry sediments, slowly recording erosion and the passage of time. Ocean currents move water that was once part of ancient glaciers or rain that fell long ago. Even clouds are part of this temporal journey, carrying moisture from one place to another, linking past and present. Ice holds time in its molecules. Hydrogen and oxygen bonds are fixed in crystalline patterns, creating a stable form that lasts for centuries. Trapped air and particles are preserved perfectly, waiting for a moment when warmth or curiosity releases them. It is a silent archive, inaccessible until melted or studied. Melting ice releases more than water. It releases history. It releases tiny bubbles that show past atmospheres. It releases particles that reveal past climates. It releases energy, as the frozen water absorbs heat and transforms into liquid again. Even the act of melting is part of the story. Water that was frozen becomes free to move through rivers, streams, and oceans. It rejoins the endless cycle, carrying the memory of ice, snow, glaciers, and storms from centuries ago. It merges with new water, yet retains traces of its ancient past. Water and ice reminds us that time is layered and patient. It moves slowly, sometimes almost imperceptibly, yet it never stops preserving the past. Each frozen drop is a witness to history, holding secrets about Earth long before humans walked its surface. The memory of water is not limited to cold regions. Even in temperate areas, snow and ice hold clues about seasons, storms, and environmental changes. Mountain glaciers capture annual snowfall, storing evidence of temperature, wind, and precipitation. Every frozen layer is a message from the past, waiting to be understood. Melting is the final release. What was trapped for centuries flows into rivers and lakes, continuing its journey through the world. It brings history into the present, connecting past and future. Each drop carries knowledge of ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and ancient air. Water's memory is patient, silent, and eternal. It can outlast human civilization, preserve natural events, and release knowledge slowly over time. Even a single drop, once frozen, can tell stories of long-gone climates, extinct plants, and ancient landscapes. As the ice melts, water enters new cycles. It nourishes rivers, oceans, and life. It carries information about time, atmosphere, and change. Every drop is a connection between past and present, frozen history returning to movement. Time in water is layered, patient, and deliberate. Ice cores, glaciers, and frozen snow hold secrets that humans are only beginning to understand. When water melts, it does not lose history, it releases it. The past flows into the present, ready to continue its endless journey. Water teaches us that even the quietest element can hold vast knowledge. It records, preserves, and releases in its own rhythm. Ice, snow, and frozen layers are reminders that time is hidden in molecules, in crystals, and in the smallest drops. Melting is both an ending and a beginning, freeing history to join the world again. Water is everywhere around you right now, even if you do not notice it. It floats in the air, invisible as a soft mist, held in tiny droplets that move silently with the breeze. It fills the space in this room, touching every surface, every object, every corner. It is not separate from you. Water is in your body, carrying nutrients, moving through cells, keeping everything alive and connected. It courses through veins and arteries, pushing life forward, holding temperature, helping your heart beat, your lungs breathe. Every thought you have, every movement, every heartbeat depends on water moving silently inside you. The water in the air swirls around you in invisible patterns. It bends light, reflects sound, even participates in temperature, keeping the environment around you soft and balanced. Each breath you take carries traces of water from oceans, rivers, glaciers, clouds, and rainstorms from around the world. It is impossible to separate yourself from the journey of water that has traveled for centuries, yet it exists quietly here with you. Outside, water flows in clouds, rivers, and oceans, but inside it moves in hidden currents too. In your blood, in your sweat, in every cell, water travels unseen, sustaining life, maintaining balance, storing energy, remembering past cycles. It is as ancient as the earth itself, and as immediate as the drop forming on your skin or in the corner of your eye. The room you are in holds water too. In the walls, in the floor, in the air, in the objects you touch, water is present, moving slowly, holding molecules together, shaping materials, and participating in every physical process. It absorbs heat from the sunlight or lamps. It reflects sound. It even holds dust and traces of the world outside. Water is in your breath, condensing and evaporating, invisible yet always moving. It is in the food you ate, the drinks you drank, the air you inhaled. It is ancient water, recycled from clouds, rivers, glaciers, and living creatures that existed long before humans walked the earth. Each molecule has its own story, yet it exists quietly with you in this moment. You are surrounded by water that has traveled unimaginable distances. Some was trapped in glaciers before humans existed. Some fell as rain over deserts or mountains, rivers or oceans. Some passed through the bodies of animals long gone. Now it is here with you, invisible and continuous. Water carries sound too, the vibrations from the environment, even the quietest ones. It transmits whispers, echoes, and movement across space in ways you cannot see but your body senses. A small movement in the air, a sound from outside, even the faint hum of a distant storm touches the water molecules around you, linking you to the world beyond the walls. Even the air around you is heavy with water in motion. Humidity, condensation, vapor, tiny droplets suspended unseen, all participate in the endless journey of water. It moves slowly, holding energy, temperature, and even memory of the places it has been, joining the cycles of clouds, rivers, oceans, and living bodies across the planet. Water is part of the room you occupy. It exists in hidden layers of dust and material. It has been absorbed into walls, floors, furniture, and fabrics. It affects the air, the temperature, the feel of the space, and the way sound and light move through it. It participates in every interaction, silent yet constant. Even as you sit, water is active inside you. It moves nutrients, stabilizes temperature, lubricates joints, and cushions organs. It remembers ancient cycles, yet it flows here and now with every heartbeat, with every breath. You are part of the water's story, and water is part of yours. Water in the room, in the air, in your body, and in the environment around you connects every moment. It is not something that begins or ends. It is continuous, always moving, always present. You cannot separate yourself from it, no more than a river can separate itself from the ocean it joins. Water carries history in every drop. It carries the past, present, and future together. It has traveled glaciers, oceans, clouds, and rivers. It has nourished life, carved landscapes, and shaped climates. Yet now it is here with you, simple, immediate, present in the quiet of this room. Even when you cannot see it, water touches every surface. It condenses on windows, clings to plants, and floats in the air. It is part of the room's temperature, part of the sensation of the chair or floor beneath you. It reflects light, carries sound, and participates in the invisible patterns that make this space alive. Water in your body moves without notice. It cycles through cells, bloodstream, tissues, and organs. It carries oxygen and nutrients, removes waste, and participates in thought and motion. It is essential, invisible, and constant, linking you to the larger cycles of the planet. Even the smallest drop of water holds memory. It remembers glaciers, ice ages, rainstorms, rivers, oceans, and living bodies it has passed through. It has seen the earth change, climates shift, species evolve, yet now it exists quietly here, flowing within and around you. Water is continuous without beginning or end. It flows from the environment into your body, circulates, and returns to the air or ground. It participates in temperature, pressure, movement, and life itself. It exists in the room, in the air, in the objects you touch, and in every drop inside you. The world outside continues its cycles, but water in this moment is here with you. It is in the invisible currents of air, in tiny droplets that hang suspended, in the moisture of your skin, in the liquid moving through your body. It participates in sound, temperature, light, and movement. It holds memory, energy, and presence. There is no conclusion to this. Water does not end. It continues through rivers, oceans, rain, snow, clouds, glaciers, and living bodies. It moves through cycles seen and unseen, connecting past, present, and future. Right now, water is part of the room, part of the air, part of your body. It is ancient and immediate at once. It connects you to every glacier, river, cloud, and ocean on Earth. It connects you to every living being, past and present, that has shared its cycles. The story of water is not finished. It continues as you breathe, as air moves, as tiny molecules circulate through the room. It is here, surrounding you, inside you, connecting every moment without pause. It is silent, invisible, persistent, and infinite. Water's journey has returned to the present moment. It exists in your breath, in your body, in the air you feel, in the room you occupy. It is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It does not conclude, it simply continues, part of the endless cycle that has existed since the beginning of the planet and will continue long after. You are part of it now, and it is part of you. Every drop carries a story, every molecule carries memory. The water in this room, in this air, in your body, is alive with history, present with you, ready to continue its journey. There is no final ending, no closure, no resolution. Water simply is. It moves. It participates in life, memory, sound, temperature, and presence. It exists around you, within you, always. And in this moment, as you notice it even slightly, water continues silently, endlessly, intimately, without end.